In the previous lesson, we examined how and why state agencies, like the Arizona Department of Real Estate, ADRE, create substantive policy statements, SPS. We learned that these documents clarify how agencies interpret and apply existing laws and rules, ensuring consistent enforcement and guidance for professionals. In this lesson, we will focus specifically on the main purpose of a substantive policy statement. While the creation process and authority behind these statements are important, understanding why they exist is key for every real estate licensee. The main purpose of a substantive policy statement is to promote clarity, transparency, and uniformity in how laws and administrative rules are understood and applied. The core purpose of a substantive policy statement. At its core, a substantive policy statement, SPS, serves one primary purpose: to communicate how a state agency interprets, applies, or enforces a particular law or administrative rule, ensuring consistency and understanding among the public and regulated professionals. Because statutes and administrative rules are often written in general terms, they can leave room for interpretation. Agencies issue substantive policy statements to remove that uncertainty. An SPS acts as the agency's official explanation or roadmap, allowing licensees to clearly understand what the agency expects and how it will enforce compliance. This purpose is defined in the Arizona Administrative Procedure, Chapter 6, ARS Section 41-1001, open parenthesis, 24 close parenthesis, which describes a substantive policy statement as an advisory statement issued by an agency to notify the public of the agency's current approach to or opinion of the requirements of an existing statute or rule. Simply put, the main purpose is guidance, not to change the law, but to explain how the agency reads and enforces it. Why the purpose of SPS is important to real estate professionals. For real estate licensees, clarity in law is essential. Each decision, from writing a contract to advertising a listing, must comply with the law and with the Commissioner's rules in Title IV, Chapter 28 of the Arizona Administrative Code. Yet, situations often arise that are not directly spelled out in the statutes or rules. That's where a substantive policy statement comes in. The ADRE uses SPS documents to clarify ambiguous areas of the law or rule, provide official interpretations for new or emerging business practices, educate licensees and the public about how compliance will be evaluated, ensure consistent enforcement of laws and rules across all licensees statewide. Example: when electronic signatures first became common, the statutes did not clearly explain whether they could be used in real estate contracts. The ADRE issued SPS number 2005.10, confirming that electronic signatures were valid and enforceable under Chapter 26 of the Trade and Commerce, ARS Section 44-7001 ETC, Uniform Electronic Transactions Act. This clarification allowed brokers and agents to confidently use electronic platforms without fear of violating the law. In this example, the SPS did not create a new rule. It clarified the ADRE's interpretation of existing law, fulfilling its purpose to educate and ensure consistency. Promoting consistency and fairness. The ADRE's responsibility is to regulate all Arizona real estate licensees fairly. The agency enforces the same rules for over 90,000 professionals statewide, and a substantive policy statement helps achieve that consistency. Without clear interpretive guidance, two licensees might handle the same situation differently. One might think a specific action is acceptable, while another might avoid it out of uncertainty. This inconsistency could lead to unfair enforcement or unintentional violations. The purpose of a substantive policy statement is to prevent this confusion by ensuring everyone, brokers, agents, instructors, and even the public, understands how the agency interprets the law. Example: if the ADRE receives numerous questions about whether a virtual tour of a property requires written consent from the seller, it may issue a policy statement interpreting R4 28 1101, Professional Conduct, and R4 28 502, Advertising Rules. This SPS could clarify that a virtual tour counts as advertising, and therefore must include the employing broker's name and obtain the seller's permission. This ensures that all licensees follow the same standards statewide. Supporting transparency and education. Another key purpose of a substantive policy statement is to increase transparency between government agencies and the industries they regulate. Agencies like the ADRE are required to post their policy statements on their official website so that the public and licensees can easily access them. This transparency supports education and compliance by ensuring that licensees know how the ADRE interprets key statutes and rules. Educators and real estate schools can incorporate accurate interpretations into their course materials. Consumers can better understand their rights and protections under Arizona real estate law. In this way, substantive policy statements serve as both an educational tool and a public trust mechanism, promoting open communication between the state and its citizens. How SPS supports the ADRE's mission. The mission of the Arizona Department of Real Estate is to protect the public interest through licensure, regulation, and education of the real estate profession. Substantive policy statements directly support this mission by helping licensees understand their legal obligations, providing uniform standards for compliance and enforcement, reducing the likelihood of violations or disciplinary action, building public confidence that real estate professionals are governed by clear, transparent, and fair interpretations of the law. By issuing SPS documents, the ADRE ensures that its interpretations are public, consistent, and applied evenly across the industry, furthering the agency's commitment to fairness and consumer protection. Review summary. In this lesson, you learned that the main purpose of a substantive policy statement, SPS, is to explain how a state agency, such as the Arizona Department of Real Estate, interprets and applies existing laws and rules. Key takeaways include the SPS provides official guidance, ensuring consistent understanding and application of laws. It is advisory, not legally binding, but reflects how the agency will enforce rules in practice. The ADRE issues SPS documents to clarify complex or emerging issues, promote transparency, and support education. SPS helps maintain fairness and consistency among all real estate licensees statewide. The overarching goal is to protect the public and uphold professional integrity within Arizona's real estate industry. Discussion prompts with answers 1. What is the main purpose of a substantive policy statement? Answer: to explain how a state agency interprets and enforces existing laws and rules, providing clarity, consistency, and guidance to licensees and the public. 2. Why are substantive policy statements important for real estate professionals? Answer: they remove uncertainty, ensure consistent enforcement, and help licensees understand how to comply with the ADRE's interpretation of the law. 3. Are substantive policy statements legally binding? Answer: no. They are advisory, but they carry significant weight because they reflect the agency's official enforcement position. 4. How do SPS documents support the ADRE's mission? Answer: by promoting education, transparency, and consumer protection through clear communication of how the ADRE interprets and applies real estate law. 5. What is one example of an ADRE SPS that clarified real estate practice? Answer: SPS number 2005.10, which confirmed that electronic signatures are legally valid under Arizona law. Closing remarks. The main purpose of a substantive policy statement is to ensure that everyone, licensees, educators, and consumers, understands how the Arizona Department of Real Estate interprets and enforces the laws governing the real estate profession. These policy statements bridge the gap between formal legislation and daily practice, offering clarity in an ever-changing industry. For real estate professionals, staying informed about current SPS documents is an essential part of compliance and professionalism. By understanding the agency's interpretations, you not only protect your license, but also strengthen the trust that the public places in Arizona's real estate community. In the next module, we will explore Arizona case law, how court decisions further interpret and shape the statutes, administrative rules, and policy statements that define real estate practice in Arizona.